What up, brawlers? Welcome back to Throwin Hands. It's been a little minute, but it's me, it's Jarrett. Jarrett, what's up, man?
Not much, man. Ready to get into a fun year at UFC.
For sure. We're gonna get a lot of content out for you guys. Alrighty. So we're gonna go to the fight the thing got switched around. We have our notes. We're gonna do what we did in our notes. So we have got um Claudio Ribeiro versus Abdul Razak Al Hassan. Judo Thunder was his nickname. I know he changed it. But there's not really too much to speak on here. This is just a prominent name in the prelims. Oh, just another name to watch out for: Charles Johnson, Jimmy Flick. That's a good fight. But yeah, I think Al Hassan will probably knock him out in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. This is Ribeiro's debut. He's 5-0 in his previous MMA career. He had a 25-second KO in the Dana White Contender Series. He was a combined 5-0 in Thunder and Elite Fight Night. All of those were KOs. He has power. It's a up and coming fighter that's good to put in on short notice or make a debut out of it for a Apex card. But I think I'm gonna take the older guy, a guy who has . Fights under his belt.
Yeah. Yeah, Al Hassan 11-5 coming into it. But yeah,
Al Hassan
this is a
last.
tough debut. It's a
Yeah,
tough debut. So if Ribeiro can pull it off, credit to that guy.
yeah.
All righty. Umar Nurmagomedov versus Hayoni Barcelos. Dude, no one wants to fight Nurmagomedov. He won't. I guess we could talk about this now. I think
Yeah.
this Habib is not. He's basically done with MMA. I think he's trying to sell his stake in Eagle FC. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he's not coaching anymore. He won't. I don't. I'm pretty sure it was just announced he won't corner his cousin Umar. He won't be cornering Makhachev, I guess, for what's being worth.
Yeah.
For all that's worth, unless he changes his mind, which wouldn't surprise me. But I'm not saying Hayoni Barcelos is going to be easy, but
Listen,
uh,
thank
Nurmagomedov will make it look easy. I think. I
absolutely.
think it'll be brutal.
Yeah. Coming off a unanimous decision and 2 submissions, I think he does it again. Most likely by sub. For,
Yeah,
for UFC.
his wrestling's different. It's he shoots for takedowns quicker than basically any other bantamweight I've ever seen. So we'll see what happens.
Mhm.
Ketlin Vieira versus Raquel Pennington. Congrats to Raquel Pennington and Tisha Torres. Tisha Pennington now, I'm pretty sure, but they're having a kid. Congrats to them. They're doing their thing. But Ketlin Vieira coming off a very controversial decision win over Holly Holm. There's no way she won 3 rounds in that fight. Holly Holm had controlled a very large majority of the fight. Uh, Pennington, she's always been in the top 5. I'm just waiting for her to break through, and I think she needs this win to break through.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a definite test, out of those she's on a 4-fight win streak with a submission over the number 8 fighter, a unanimous decision over the number 7. She has 2 losses to Holly, a loss to Nunez that kind of have stopped her um ascension up to the top tier in this bantamweight. But this is a fight right here, like you said, where if she wants to get her name into the tier of Nunez and like that again, she's going to need to win this on Saturday. Vieira after before that split with Holly had that unanimous decision against Misha Tate too. Vieira, I just think, has a little bit more power. Raquel goes from the clinch a lot. She throws in a lot of Muay Thai. Vieira's more judo. It's a good matchup. I was saying to you, I think this is probably the one that I'm second most excited about. It's probably the fight that I'm the second most excited about.
Yeah,
I,
it's gonna be. You're right, man. It's gonna be an interesting matchup, but I think Vera will take this one. To be honest, I like Raquel Pennington a lot.
yeah, I want Pennington to win, but I think Vieira gets it done by decision.
Yeah, I think so too. It's I just don't see many places that Raquel Pennington can win, but I hope she does. She's been around a hot minute. I hope she gets back to the title picture. But to a middleweight men's bout, Punahele Soriano versus Roman Kopilov. This is gonna be a fun fight. If Punahele Soriano keeps it standing, he's gonna win. I know Kopilov can grapple very well, though.
Yeah.
He just has a body that looks like he can squeeze, but he's won 89% of his fights by TKO. He can get it done anywhere.
Yeah.
But what's your thoughts on this one?
Soriano is a D3 All-American in wrestling, so I like him. Coming off a real good knockout over Dolce Lungumbula, who we covered a couple weeks ago. Also had his 2 losses in the UFC are to a split decision loss to Imamov and a unanimous decision loss to Brendan Allen. I'm going to take Soriano. I think it could go either way. I think it's going to be a lot of bang and go on their feet, but I'm just going to go we'll go out on a limb on this one, and I'll go Soriano by knockout, even though I think it's real close.
Yeah, it is real close.
Odds show it too. It's -20. No, that's 160, 130. So I mean, it's basically even for a slight favor.
Yeah, and I mean, Kopilov he can strike too, but his takedown defense is phenomenal. 87% at middleweight.
Then and Soriano doesn't really shoot for offense either. So
that's very true. But when he does shoot, he's very accurate. 60% on the takedown. So I find this to be a fascinating matchup. So it's gonna end brutally. I think Soriano gets it done. I've always liked him. A little bit of bias probably, but it is what it is. Alrighty. Dan Ige versus Damon Jackson. Damon Jackson, his last loss was against Ilia Topuria. I mean, you can't blame the guy for losing to Ilia Topuria. The dude will probably be champ one day. Yeah, but absolutely. He's beat Kirk Argueta and Pat Sabatini. This is his first ranked matchup, I'm pretty sure. I mean, Dan Ige, whenever he has lost, it was Cater. He lost to Zombie. He lost to Josh Emmett. I mean, he's on a 3-fight losing streak he's lost 3 of the last 4, but against the best of the best. And Jung, Emmett, Evloev. Like, you can't blame him for losing. Yeah. And I think the purpose of this fight is maybe we get a new guy in the top 15 or we get Ige back on track.
Absolutely, because Ige's last ranked win was a split decision win over Barboza. And since then, like you said, all of his losses were to the 5, the 6, 7, and 10. Definitely trying to mix stuff up there at feather is what I think this is for, too.
Yeah. It's not a name heavy card, but if you know what you're talking about, this is a fun card. Yeah. So I'm going to take Dan Ige in this. I like him a lot. But I will say Damon Jackson can crack.
Yeah.
And Dan Ige's got to be real wise when he goes into the pocket. So what do you think?
I definitely think it's sticking to a decision either way, but I'm going to agree with you and give Ige the edge on this one. I just don't see it going in Jackson's favor. It's going to be a great fight, though.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I know Ige has good boxing too, so I don't know. It's a close one, and the odds are it's a pick 'em pretty much. All right, interesting stuff happened. So Kevin Gastelum, he's the replacement legend. He hasn't fought in 16 months, sadly, but for a very good reason. He lost teeth, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
and it looks like he got like a mat rash on his face. Like it looked like he just got pile drived in the mat or something. So Sean Strickland, the man himself, the Wednesday legend when it comes to the press conferences. Yeah. He's stepping up. First main event of this year, last main event of last year. In a light heavyweight bout. Of course, they're not going to make him cut. That'd be ridiculous. But I'm actually interested to see Sean Strickland that light heavyweight, see how he performs.
Yeah.
But Imamov is such a tough fight on short notice. This is not, especially when it comes to grappling. I mean, we saw what he did to Shabazian. I'm not saying Shabazian's on the level of Strickland, but That
Wait,
was pretty brutal. And Imamov, he's no joke.
no, not at all. This is a tough fight for Strickland to take, you know. It's hard to pick him in this, you know. I think if it's a full camp and stuff, now I mean some people are gonna say like he was just coming off of a camp, but after that camp, what you have all the holidays and stuff, like and you can't tell me you're in there practicing and sparring every day like he usually does over those holidays. Um, Two loss skid coming into it, you know, knockout to prayer, and then just a couple weeks ago against Cannoneer. I'm gonna take Imamov in this one. Uh, Probably by decision. I think this one goes the distance.
I will too. And let's talk about Strickland for a second. If he loses this fight, and we'll talk more about this in the review, but if he loses this fight, he's in a weird position.
He put himself in an awful position for this. Like if he loses this, he drops so much in the rankings. But you know, good fighters like that don't necessarily care about the rankings and put everything into it. It's just now he's got to start back over, and you know he's going to get a tough fight where it's one of those outside guys who are younger who are going to be coming in trying to get ranked. You know, he's going to start getting hitters like that instead of just trying to keep his name up there. So
Yeah, and Sean Strickland can't fight this fight like he's sparring.
yeah,
I think that would be like that's how he fights a lot because he just goes 100% the whole time. But
yeah.
I worry about his takedown defense. He hasn't really fought. He's a good wrestler. He fought Jack Hermanson. He out wrestled him because
Mhm.
I don't think Hermanson was necessarily expecting that. So credit to Sean Strickland for that. But I think Imamov's just on another level, man.
Yeah.
And I think when we look at the future of the division, you got Andre Muniz, people like that who can really grapple.
Mhm.
And like right now, strikers at the top of the division. Vettori might be the best grappler in the top 5. Vettori.
Yeah.
That says anything. I'm not discrediting Vettori. He's awesome. But
Vittoria and Strickland are training together now too. That's great.
yeah, that'll be interesting. But it's just
I think Sean looks hesitant after getting knocked out by Pereira too.
I mean, I think anybody would be would be hesitant about that.
Very true.
I mean, do you want to go into Cannoneer's range after getting blasted by?
No, I'm good. I don't want to go in any of their ranges, honestly.
No, I don't. I'm strong. Strickland can hit too. It's not.
Yeah.
He's not going to put you out with one, but he can string some combinations together. The
Yeah.
way Strickland wins this fight is he needs to use his jab so perfectly that Imamov can't find a lane to just take him down, wrap up the legs.
Yeah.
He's gonna have to fight this so smartly, and he's got to make it boring. He can't let him into range. He's got to win it by decision. He's not going to knock him out probably because he
Yeah.
doesn't throw uppercuts.
Right.
So I respect Strickland for this, but I don't think it was the best move.
Weird. It's weird.
I mean, credit to him. He took it.
Money.
Yeah, that's probably why he wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get Chris Curtis to come in there because he just fought. He just won. He doesn't need to come in there. I guess Sean Strickland probably found a need to come in there.
Yeah.
But dang, man.
And you can't really drop that one after having Shavkat drop, you know? That fight, you don't want to have another fight fall through, and then who's your main event then, you know?
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you lost
then.
you lost the least talked about prospect, in my opinion. Well, he's a contender. He's top 10. But people don't talk about Shavkat Rakhmonov in the same name as Hamzat,
Yeah.
which I think is crazy.
It is. It is.
He's incredible. But dude, we have so much news to talk about. Let's just get right into that, man. The first thing we need to address, I'm sure you all saw the Dana White video with his wife at the nightclub. Here's what I'll say. It's wrong. There's no question about it. And I'm not going to speak on it too much because I think that it's a domestic thing and it's not really any of our business. Dana White's owned up to it 100%.
Yeah.
I can't say more about how he's handled it. Um, but it's not really my business to get into. If he just went up to a woman at the club, I'd probably just a random woman and did that. I'd probably have, but there
Yeah.
may be, I'm not gonna say there's a problem. I don't know. They both said this hasn't happened. It's just unfortunate. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm cool on not touching on it too much if you're
Yeah,
there's
that's
a
fine.
lot of stuff that we can say, but it's pretty
It's already been said. I
yeah,
mean, this is our first episode. We haven't been around. This is our first episode in like
yeah.
weeks. Well, we haven't recorded in like 3.5 weeks. Our last episode came out about 2 weeks ago.
A break.
Yeah, we had a break. So, yeah, let's just hope they get their stuff worked out. It's very unfortunate, but I hope they get it worked out. I don't, especially for their kids, man.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Um, so Ngannou's head coach, I think is Eric Nixick, is optimistic that the Jones fight will happen, according to Mike Heck of MMA Fighting. 50-50, it takes place in March. So it seems like contract negotiations are good. But there's a tweet from Cyril Gahn calling out John Jones. And I'm so disappointed that it probably won't happen due to the
Yeah.
fact that this news came out, because that's the fight I want to see.
Yeah, I think so too, because honestly, overall the break, I saw like 3 or 4 different stories that said confirmed Francis Ngannou is a free agent separated from the UFC, and then it was from confirmed by rumors. So like there's still talks of him not even fighting in the UFC. And I'd love to see a Cyril Gahn versus John Jones fight too. But heavyweight, we talked about it a little bit. Heavyweight's in a little bit of a standstill here, kind of the belt's being held up a little bit. And I like Francis. It's just it's been a little while.
Yeah, and you can't blame him with the contract stuff.
Yeah.
He does deserve to get paid a little more,
Yeah.
to be honest. But I'm glad John Jones got that worked out.
Yeah.
So it's no longer on him. I think that's the thing I've said. He wanted to fight in 2022. Apparently Stipe didn't sign, or he didn't want to fight. I don't blame Stipe if that's the truth. I wouldn't want to fight John Jones either. But here's what Nick Sick said. Obviously there hasn't been anything announced yet with the contract and when they're and where they're at. So 50-50 for me. I'm hoping for this thing, fingers crossed, we can get the deal done. If it's not March, maybe it's April or May or something like that. I don't know that they're shooting for I do know that they're shooting for March and that John Jones is the opponent. Everything else is out of my hands. But if they tell me, hey, we're fighting March 4th, we'll get our guy ready. That's for sure. You can't ask for more than that at this point. So it's going to happen, guys. I'm 99% sure of it. Just a matter of when. And I hope it's sooner rather than later, because I want John Jones to get that belt, and he's getting older by the day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Here's my thing with that, though, man. He was picking with his food with these other opponents, I think. He's motivated now. That's scary.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. So what news did you have, Jarrett?
I got a bunch, man. I think one that was cool that relates to what we talked about in the news segment last episode, kind of staying around that money problem, is Bryce Mitchell went from saying he had the flu and he fought that fight because then he needed money. And then he took time and said, all right, forget that. I'm done with the sport. I need time away. And basically like half retired on Twitter. And then a little bit later called out Volk and O'Malley. So I didn't get to text you at all about those Twitter exchanges, but Bryce Mitchell's been all over my feeds a little bit.
I think it's just hard, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
It's
think
gotta be a
he's
grind, mental grind to
yeah,
be.
I'll give it to him when he was talking to Brett Okamoto. He was like, yeah, I lost. Credit to he's very good. Like, he made no excuses. He didn't make any excuses about, oh, well, he wasn't really that good. I was just sick. He acknowledged that Taporia is good. Now,
Yeah.
should he have come out and said he was sick? I don't think you should. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Personally, but that's his decision. I'm not going to criticize him for it. But yeah, it's interesting. It's a mental thing, man. I've never done combat sports, but a loss just seems a lot more personal, and especially since he was undefeated at 14-0, something like that. That'd just be too hard. I don't understand why. I know Perrin also was like, I don't know if this is for me at the end of his fight with Rosas. So yes, you wrestled Jarrett, but like, we don't understand what they go through.
no. Like as tough as wrestling is, like the UFC and MMA is the UFC is the highest level of MMA, which is a mix of every single combat sport in the world. Like it's insane what these guys are training. Like they're going on wrestling practice on Tuesday, then boxing on Wednesday, then jujitsu on Thursday. Like they're doing everything, like mix in judo, Muay Thai. Like they got so much to remember, so many different styles, stances, stuff like that. Just so much going on. And then add in the cutting weight and the contact. It's got to be draining, you know?
Yeah, and oh shoot, I wouldn't think straight after any of that. So
I
I'm
was
not.
not even talking about like the brain stuff that goes into it, you know?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to think straight after any of that. So Bryce Smith will get back at it. I'm not concerned about him. He's 29.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I was about to say the next one was Aljamain. It supposedly
ah,
about the torn bicep, you know, stuff in that division. We talked about that on the predictions a little bit with Cejudo trying to get back in. Aljamain, if he is hurt, throws a rock into a pond with that one, mixes it up even more than what it was.
dude,
So
bantamweight's a mess.
it is. It is. It really is. It's a
Uh,
fun mess. I'd say it's the
oh, I
opposite.
agree.
It's the opposite type of mess than what light heavyweight is, you know?
Or welterweight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
like no, the division's being held up in welterweight and light heavyweight. It's the same reason in light heavyweight as bantamweight in the sense your Prohaska's shoulder is screwed up.
Yeah.
And we don't know what's going to happen because if Glover wins next Saturday, he could say, I want to finish on top. You
Yeah.
can't blame the guy. He's a legend. But here's what I think they should do. I don't know if you would agree with me, but they, as much as I love Corey Sandhagen, they got to can Cheeto and Sandhagen, and they got to make an interim belt for March with O'Malley and Cheeto. And
Yep.
I think to get Cejudo back into the mix, you got to make Sandhagen Cejudo.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot actually.
And
But
I
I
don't want. I love Corey Sandhagen. I don't want it to get canned for his sake. But if I were a matchmaker, I'd be like, "Hey, man, I'll pay you a few more $100,000,
yeah,
but we have to make this happen, and we need this." And you guarantee the O'Malley Cheeto rematch for the belt
right.
because that's never. It's never guaranteed in fighting. You never know what's going to happen.
Right.
This could be the chance. So
Yeah.
that's what I think will happen. But I hope Sterling gets his bicep work sorted out, and you know, we'll see. I hope he does because as much as he does annoy me a little bit with his antics sometimes, but the dude can fight.
Yeah. And then I think other than I had Habib retiring and stuff that happened with Dana, moving away from the UFC, what I thought, I didn't get to text you about this either, was what went on with Bellator. Bellator and Rizin did that five fight like card. The
Oh, the
two
co-promotion.
Yeah. So it's a huge deal, a ton of people ready to watch and stuff. They sent out the results the day before the pay-per-view. They posted who won before the live event.
Here's what it was. Here's what happened. So they had it live in Japan,
Okay.
but what happened was, first off, tape delays these days, it's not like the late 70s when you can tape delay something. No one knows no one knows what's happened, right?
Right.
But today you tape delay something so it can be shown in the US at a good time. The results are going to be out anyway. So that's what happened. It's not necessarily that oh, it came out before it was live. It already happened. It was on tape delay in the US.
Okay. I see what you mean. That's what I meant to say. I thought you were I got you.
Yeah, it was on tape delay in the US.
I couldn't believe that when I saw it because I was like, oh, I'm excited to see.
And Japan's like what, 16 hours ahead?
Yeah, something like that.
So like there's no optimal time. What else you got, man?
Just the last thing. I mean, I hate bringing it up. We brought it up a little bit. I think the last show talking about news, but you can't not talk about it because there's so many UFC fighters being drawn into it. But Jake Paul and PFL.
Oh, we didn't talk about this. Okay, we gotta talk about it. What's your thoughts?
I know. same as always. I think he's just like a tumor for the sport. Like I just don't like it. Like I just don't think it's genuine fighting, man. I think it's fighting for more towards the money and for show than just fighting MMA as a sport. I don't like it. I don't like what he did to boxing. I think it turned boxing like illegitimate. You know what I mean?
It turned it
I
into a
don't
freak
like
show.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Here's my
He
thing with
made it.
Jake Paul and MMA, dude. He's gonna get killed.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. I hope it just gets put to rest immediately and gets
It'll
it
show
gone.
what a joke
Uh,
it is. If you put Askren in there right now with him, it would. There's. It would be terrible. Askren would
no,
be playing with food.
no training necessary for Askren. Like that's on the ground. It's a completely different level of skill. Like Jake was a decent high school wrestler in Ohio. Logan
He's
was a
okay.
yeah, he was like Logan was good. Like Logan took like third in the state, but Jake was like 500 in Ohio. And Ohio's decent wrestling, but like he was 500. Ben Askren is a multiple time Hodge Trophy winner. Like made the world team multiple times. Like it's just I
Uh,
don't know.
uh, Jiu-Jitsu world champion as well.
Yeah, yeah, I forgot about that.
Like what?
Um,
Jake Jake Paul would have no chance. It wouldn't even
I
be
know
close. Like Brent
he
Askren
has no
landed an
chance.
overhand right on Jake Paul in boxing.
He has no chance against Diaz either if he does the boxing MMA deal that he was talking about. Like
Oh,
it's a joke.
yeah, it's a PR thing for PFL, and you can't blame them, to be honest.
No,
And yes, yeah, we're trying to get more money to the fighters with pay-per-views, but how much pay-per-view is PFL really going to sell? And yes, Jake Paul will probably get them some more buys, but at the same time, it's just he's getting into a realm that he's not versed in, and I think Charles Jourdain said something about this. He's like, we really don't do this for the money. We do it to win.
yeah,
And that's what a lot of them are. And
yeah,
yes, I'm sure they would mind more money, but if they know that they could go to Bellator or PFL for that matter and get a lot more money, they know that. But the reason Jourdain, fighters like that stay in the UFC is because they want to be the best.
yeah,
And that's what they care about, not the
absolutely.
money. Because
Yeah,
you see these guys show up for 12 and 12. They know they can go to Bellator and get 50 and 50, something like that. Leave the UFC and get 50 and 50, but they want to be the best.
right.
And that's the UFC fighters have a completely different mentality. I'm not dissing Bellator fighters. Get your money. Do that. If that's what you're wanting to do, I fully respect that. Get money from fighting, playing a sport. Hell yes, do it. But it's just a completely different mindset that these UFC fighters have, I think.
I agree. I agree. It's definitely a pay problem. I think what pay problems the UFC has is easily fixable though. Like I don't know if we talked about this on the last episode or two ago. It's been so long, I forget what we've been talking about. But like they raised the pay-per-view prices.
Yeah, to eight. Oh yeah, we didn't to $80.
They make less money and then they say, "Hey, let's charge more for the people who are buying." Like,
Here's why they do that. So it's actually, I think it's pretty simple. So let's say I'm just gonna make this easy. Let's say the pay-per-view is set at $40, right? Um, let's say 20 people buy it. Okay, but you raise the pay-per-view to 80, but they figured out that 15 people will buy it. Less people are buying the pay-per-view, but you're still making more money.
okay.
And I think they're trying to find that balance to where what's the it's just my it's and that's ESPN setting the prices, not the UFC.
Okay.
So in ESPN, that's what they've done to make money. They've raised the price of like having it on like a cable subscription. They have had less subscribers, yet they've made more money
Okay.
because it's just the business. I mean, it's money. They don't care about how many people view you. If one person's paid $300 billion to watch ESPN, do you think they care if they get two more people paying? No. So that's how it works. It's all money. And ESPN raised the pay-per-view price because it's probably in their deal with the UFC with their contract. So it's you you learn a lot, I guess, when
Yeah.
you learn a lot more about the sports business when it comes to UFC, I think, because it's a little more open to some extent.
Yeah.
Like, NFL, you do get the NFL contracts, you get to read them, but they speak about it more. So
Yeah.
it's crazy, man. I don't yeah. I just if people were saying, if more people would afford it, they'd pay for the pay-per-view. They know they can make more money. If they made it $20, they know more people would buy it, but they know they'd make more making people pay 80. So that's all
Yeah.
it is. That's
Yeah.
all it is. Um, I'm trying to look see if there's anything else.
Those are all
Oh yeah,
sad.
Brad Tavares is out against RoboCop.
Hmm.
RoboCop's a savage, dude. That dude's different. Oh, Artem Lob. One more thing. Artem Lobov is required to pay Conor McGregor's legal fees after his defamation suit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, look,
That's
I'm not a big legal politics guy, but if you're gonna pick your fights, pick them well.
yeah, and that was like wasn't that the deal where it was like McGregor offered him like $1 million for it, and then like he turned it down and then sued him for it. Like,
Something like that. Yeah. Um,
come on.
Crazy. Oh, this Phil Baroni, former UFC fighter, um, might get 50 to 75 years for
I saw that.
allegedly murdering his girlfriend, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
For aggravated femicide. Ugh, that's sick.
Oh, yeah.
That's sick. Ugh, that's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. He had a decent career too, man. Just fought for the middleweight Strikeforce championship against Frank Shamrock. So he's been around a minute, but dang.
Yeah.
My condolences to her family. But that's really it that's all I got, man. Do you have anything to add?
No, I think I'm good. I think that was a great
Oh,
episode.
I'm sorry. I just thought of something. Dylan Dennis is a joke. You pulled out
Um,
against KSI. You are a
God.
joke. This dude, he
Yeah.
talks so much crap. And they removed
Just
the
such a
rehydration clause. You could have been 205 pounds going into that fight in theory. What are you
yeah.
doing? KSI. KSI. I don't know if you I've watched KSI for probably 11 years. I grew up watching him. He's not a good boxer. Jake Paul would set him in orbit.
Yeah.
But
It's
I think this is a good thing to touch on because you and I talked about this boxing scene with Jake Paul. This is what
yeah.
kids are watching. They're not watching Gervonta Davis. They're not watching Tyson Fury. They're not watching Alexander Usyk. They're not
Yeah.
they're not watching those people. They're watching people like KSI and FaZe Temper in a main event pay-per-view on DAZN.
Yeah.
That's what they're watching. They're not watching Ryan Garcia.
Right.
Like it's sad. Or
Yeah.
Shakur Stevenson. They're not watching those people. And that's the good stuff.
Yeah.
And the problem is boxers don't fight the best. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're getting Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis and it's signed in April, that's legendary.
Yeah.
I'll buy it. Screw it. But yeah, man, that's all I got. This is it. This is it. I'm not saying anything else. Nothing else is going to come to my mind. Anything else from you?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Listening wherever you find this stuff. But anyway, that'll do it for us right now. You can find us back Tuesday for the review of the event. More news. Peace out, y'all.